Looking to transform your family game nights? At Perfectly Picked Games, we specialize in family games that bring everyone closer. Our games aren't just fun. Kids and teens will learn how to take turns, develop basic strategy skills, and understand the thrill of winning and grace of losing. With our exclusive gift of games, you can give months of gaming excitement to your family. Choose a 3-month or 6-month gift, and we'll deliver hand-picked family games to your doorstep every month. And here's the best part. Right now, you can use the promo code GOLDENMOJO and receive 20% off your selected plan. Don't miss out on this exclusive offer. Use promo code GOLDENMOJO and save 20% today at Perfectly Picked Games.
Welcome to the United States of Paranormal Podcast. Sit down and buckle up for an enlightening ride through everything cryptid, creepy, and paranormal.
Hello, all of my paranormal freaks out there. It is I, Golden Jay, hanging out with
the Rocker Chick
and
J-Dub.
And today we have a very special guest from the old hospital on College Hill. We have Tonya Webb. We are so excited to have you with us.
I'm so excited to be here, but I'm super bummed that I don't have a cool name like you guys.
Well, I mean, let's work this out. The Webinator. No, that's not. No, that wasn't it. That wasn't the right one.
Creepy Chick.
Creepy Chick. Let's go with that.
There we go. Yep. That worked.
We are super happy to have you. We want to throw it out to Mason, the straw man, for actually getting us hooked up with you.
Yes.
As he was there doing one of your tours and being a giant fan. Well, he is a super fan, for the month of August. And probably for a lifetime, really. He's a super fan. Talking to you and allowing us to make contact and getting you here today.
Oh, glad to be here and thankful that you guys are having me. I appreciate it. And thanks to Mason.
Yeah.
For connecting us.
Yes, he said he had a great time. He said it was amazing. He said you were amazing. Do you, well, I will get to that question. Okay, so you are the owner of the old hospital on College Hill, correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. How did this come about?
Well, some people call it fate. Some people call it craziness. I don't know. I was actually born in that hospital. I grew up in this area my whole life. Always been fascinated with this hospital as well as the nurses' college that's located beside of it. Never dreamed I would ever own it, but it just, I don't know. It just kind of happened. We were in the middle of COVID in 2020, and the regular Williamson Memorial Hospital had to close, and the hospital that I owned was part of that at that time. And when it closed, as a lot of, smaller hospitals did back in, during that time, the courts got a hold of it and separated the ties between the newer hospital that was formed in 88 and the old hospital that I now own. And just people were able to bid on it. I found out about it through some locals, and I thought, you know what? Give it a chance. Let's see what we can do. My biggest fear was I just didn't want, other people to come in and maybe buy it for a tax write-off, or like a lot of places do, tear buildings down for parking places or whatever. Because both of these buildings are so beautiful and so have so much history. I wanted to preserve not only a little bit of my history, but the town's history, city's history as well. So I just kind of threw my name in the ring for it, and I won. So,
awesome.
My mom, literally, she was like, "You're crazy. What do you want to do with an old hospital?" But I love the buildings. I love preserving history. And of course, I've always been drawn to the spooky horror stories. And I've loved horror movies ever since I was a little girl. I think the very first one I watched, I was 4 years old. So, it was always fascinated me. So like I said, I don't know if it's luck or fate or maybe a combination of both, but I was fortunate enough to be able to get it.
Yeah, because this, are we looking, what, almost 100-year-old building? I mean,
Yeah. She turned 96 in March, so she'll be 97 this March. So almost 100 years old.
man. Yeah, that's history you got to preserve. You can't let them come in and rip that down.
Yeah, it was such a big, and a lot of people, I hear even today, you know, we've been open for going on 4 years now. And we hear from people all over the country, even outside of the country, that were actually born in this hospital. And they reach out to us to tell us, you know, they now live somewhere else. But, you know, they remember Williamson and they remember that hospital, and it played such a role, you know, in their lives and as well as the city. So with all of that history, and then, of course, the spooky stories that go along with it, I just couldn't see it tore down. It would have broke my heart.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Where is this located at? Just so our viewers know.
We are located in Williamson, West Virginia.
Okay. Thank you.
Were there a lot of bidders on it?
I don't really know, to be honest with you. I only know of about 4. So I don't know if there were more than that, but I know there were at least 4.
Yeah. Wow.
So you win the bid. It's yours. How long before you decided that doing tours and stuff, it was the avenue that you were going to go with?
Well, I'll be honest with you. Destination Fear kind of wrote our fate for us. I have to give them a huge shout out. They're now Project Fear.
Right.
They kind of gave us the start. When I first went into this, I was really going at it more of the historical value and the history side of it, because the history of it is very fascinating as well. And I love history and I love spooky, so it's a kind of win-win for me. But Destination Fear, while we were in the middle of closing, they reached out to us. Their executive producer reached out to us and introduced themselves. And they were like, would you all be interested in this show on the Travel Channel being filmed there? And I was like, what? And again, we hadn't even finished the purchase yet. We were still in the new stages. And they proceeded to tell me a little bit about their show and what they do. And I had heard of them and I'd seen a little bit of their show, but to be honest and fair, I had not watched a whole episode. So I knew a little bit, but just not a whole lot. And I said, well, you know, what do you need from us? And they said, well, basically nothing. They said that they were in season 2 and they were looking for a location for their season 2 finale. And they had, I think they told me 2 or 3 other locations that was in the running for it. But they happened across the hospitals. I don't know if it was the website or the Facebook page. And they were very fascinated with it. They had been watching us for a while. And they just, you know, wanted to basically get our permission to throw our name in the ring. And I told them, I said, well, you know, I don't mind. We're still in the process of closing on it. Because they explained to me that Dakota had the I guess the last choice, and that we were up against 2 other places. And I thought, well, they ain't gonna choose some small hospital in Williamson, West Virginia. And I said, yeah. And about 3 or 4 days later, I got a call back from their executive producer, and she said, Tonya, Dakota loved it, loves the hospital. They want to come there and film. Can we use it? And thanks to my boyfriend and my partner, Charlie, he did some amazing work to be able to get that done. And legally, you know, because we were still in the process of closing, we were able to do it and get them there. And, you know, because of them, we closed on it in, in 2020, I want to say maybe July or August of 2020. And then they came in October and filmed, and it aired in December of 2020. We didn't technically open it to the public till February of 21. So Destination Fear honestly gave us our launch. I mean, I to this day, we still get paranormal teams and people that come for visits just because they watched it on Destination Fear. So I always give them a shout out and a thank you, because they really, they did a great job. I don't know if you guys got to watch the episode. You know, the Travel Channel was great. Everybody was just wonderful to work with. So it really, they helped us get our start.
We have been for a long time big Destination Fear fans. J-Dub, I remember when they went off the air and then they came back as Destination X, right? Is that right? Destination
Project Fear.
Project Fear. Sorry. I know that she had gotten a hold of me and she's like, they're back. I know that we watched a bunch of them. I know we watched I can't tell you if I watched all the original seasons or not, but when Mason got a hold of me and was, and said, hey, you need to get a hold of Tonya. Immediately, I think it was the next night, me and the rocker chick were like, yep, we need to watch this one again, just so we make sure we're fresh with this episode. And we love those guys. I think they're amazing. Their personalities are explosive, and they just seem like they're having fun, but at the same time are very serious about their investigations and the way they put them together. We really, really like that.
They really are, and they're so nice, and they're so down to earth. I didn't get to spend a lot of time with them when they came in as Destination Fear because Chelsea was still in college and they were on a tight schedule, and it was literally, back to back. They were here a few days and then they were gone. When the Travel Channel canceled their show and they ended up becoming Project Fear and they moved to YouTube, Alex called and said, hey, we're not on the Travel Channel anymore, but we're doing our thing on YouTube. We would love to come back, but we're going to be Project Fear, and we love your location, and we want to come back and film there. So they came back, I believe, last year or whenever they started as Project Fear, and they spent practically, I want to say 3 to 4 days with us. And they stayed in one of our, they stayed in Dr. Conley's home, which is one of the lodge houses that we have on the property that people can rent when they come. And we got to spend more one-on-one time on them, if that makes sense, and learn a lot about them and about what they, how they got their start and what they did. And they're just amazing people. What you see is what they are. There's no Hollywooded up. It's no fake. I mean, they're truly down to earth people that love what they do. And they love going to these places. They love meeting people. They love investigating. And, we were happy that they wanted to come back. We truly, because we owed a lot to them. I mean, they basically put us on the map.
Right. Really.
So when they came back as Project Fear, it was just a huge, it was like a full circle for us. Them back, and they couldn't believe because a lot of we had changed a little bit of the hospital, done some renovations and stuff, and then we had that body cooler. I don't know if you saw their show while they were here as Project Fear, but Chelsea made Dakota sleep in a body cooler, and just to get a revenge on him, basically. And he got stuck in it. So it was really funny. So we got to sit down and talk about that and just all what they captured, which was really amazing because when they came as Destination Fear, they had so much activity on the one floor that we had the least knowledge about at the time, which was the second floor. But then when they came back, it was the fourth floor and some other issues that they were having. So it was fun to be able to sit down and talk to them about it and really get to know them. So
right.
They're great people. I highly recommend, everybody checking them out and watching their shows.
I did not know they come back under Project Fear. We're back at the hospital. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, they came back, I want to say last year, but don't quote me on it because my timeline's all messed up lately. But they came back, and now they're doing it on YouTube under Project Fear, and their episodes are a lot longer, more personable. You get to see the real them, I think, and more in depth. Where the Travel Channel, you had a lot of commercials. It was cut, short. I mean, they were Destination Fear was great, but I think people will enjoy Project Fear a lot better because I think you get to see them more in their setting and get to know them a little bit more. Where on the Travel Channel, you had an hour and they had to cut a lot out, so they couldn't talk a lot. But yeah, they were with us. I think it's a 2-part episode on YouTube if you want to watch it.
Oh, I'm definitely going to go check that out. Definitely.
I've seen it.
Yeah, J-Dub's up on me.
I binge them all the time. I've probably seen it 2 or 3 times.
Awesome. Did you see him in the body cooler?
Yes. It was so funny.
Yes.
I mean, I wouldn't want that to happen to me.
Oh,
but-
no, me neither. I mean, I laugh, but at the same time, I'm like, dude, if that happened to me, I couldn't do that either.
Oh man.
Because they
Nice.
shut the drawer on. It's an actual body cooler, and they shut the door on him, and he dropped his walkie-talkie, and he's in there. I won't spoil all of it, but they're out somewhere else, and he's in there by himself, freaking out, and stuff was going on, and it was crazy.
All right. Well, I know what we're doing this weekend. We're definitely going to find that episode and get
Popcorn
that.
and Project Fear.
Oh, so tell me, like you said, you guys, when you took over, they come in, you were still kind of learning the facility and what's going on with it. I remember that the second floor was where they were getting a lot more of the activities. Of course, they split up and they slept on all 4 floors, I believe, right? Or one was in the basement. One was it
Chelsea.
Yeah, I was thinking it was Chelsea. It was in the basement. But so as you progressed and spent more time in the building, what are you finding on let's just start with the second floor. What are you finding on the second floor of the building?
The second floor for me, when people come in or I do podcasts and I talk to people, I always explain the second floor is probably the most consistent as far as paranormal activity. The second floor was hot from day one, and it's one of those floors where it never seems to let you down, even if it's something minor. My first experience in there was on the second floor, and it never lets you down. So, I'm a little bit more prepared than I was 3 years ago.
Right.
But, when you have that first experience happen to you, it's something that you don't forget. You don't forget what floor and you don't forget where you're at. And I've gotten a little bit more used to it now, but then I was like, oh, this is what happens. Okay. I'd love to have a do-over because I totally handled it the wrong way. But, it happens, and it being a hospital, hospitals are just that. People's lives start there and people's lives end there. So it's, so much going on. But the second floor, in my opinion, is probably one of the favorite floors and probably the most consistent as far as activity than all the other floors.
So do you want to share your first experience?
I can. Believe it or not, it was at 8:15 in the morning. I wasn't prepared for that. In my little head, I'm thinking this stuff goes on, midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. I was not prepared for it at 8:15 in the morning, but that was just my lack of knowledge of the paranormal. So we had a team that had stayed overnight, and I had come up to the hospital they had left, or I thought they had left. And I was just checking things out, making sure they didn't leave anything behind. And I was on the second floor, which is what we call base camp for our paranormal teams that spend the night, because we have one room that has a little bit of power, and it also has heat or air depending on what time of the year it is. So that way they can go in there and cool off or warm up depending on, what they need. And I was just doing my basic walkthrough of the floor, and I turned to go down the long hallway, and I was walking by one of the rooms, and just as plain as day and very close, I heard a male's voice go, "Hey." He wasn't angry. He wasn't upset. He wasn't mad. It was just like he was trying to get my attention. Well, I thought I was the only one in the building. So as you can imagine, I was a little startled. I dropped my phone. I had my phone in my hand and I dropped it. And I was looking around because I thought there was a male in the building. And then I started thinking, well, the group that just left, they had 2 men in their group. So I thought it was them. So I picked up my phone and started texting with them. And I said, "Hey, are you all still here?" And they said, "No, Tonya, we left about an hour ago, but we need to tell you, while we were packing up our stuff in base camp, we kept picking up a male's voice that kept talking." And I was like, "Great, you could have warned me. You gave me a heads up." But, my mind still reverted back to someone's in this building. So I guess I just wasn't prepared for it. So I literally searched the whole hospital looking for a male that had broken into the hospital. Long story short, there was no man. There was nobody in there but me. Charlie came a little bit later. But I went home and I processed everything, and I was like, what just happened? And it really... I was like, I need to be smart about this because it's 8:15 in the morning. It's a hospital. honestly, hospitals are probably more active during the day than they are at night because you have patients being checked in, doctors making their rounds, nurses doing shift changes, and just it's more probably busier. And I should have realized that, but I didn't. And it just, it put me in my place real quick.
He's probably like, hey, my call light's not working.
Yeah, I know. And that's what I was thinking. I was like, did he think I was a nurse or was it a doctor who thought I was a patient? Those are things, if I could have a do-over, I would absolutely ask and talk and not be so chicken. But, the first time it was, I had to learn. So now I'm a little bit more used to it. I don't freak out as bad. I don't handle it that way. But, when you have that first experience, because again, it was so clear and he was so close. I mean, it was almost like he was standing right next to me, but yet there was nobody there. And like I said, I did not feel intimidated. I did not feel scared. I was startled. I think he just wanted my attention. I think he wanted to tell me something and I blew it. I totally blew it. But, hopefully he'll come back and talk to me again someday, but I don't know who he was. It could have been a patient, could have been a doctor. I don't know.
Oh, that's awesome. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
that's wild.
Although that's awful early in the morning when you've only had a half a cup of coffee to try to deal with. So we understand the whole process.
Yeah, I was not prepared. I can honestly tell you, it's kind of sunny. You could see through there. It was not dark. And that happens. And I'm like, what? What? And then when I didn't find anybody, because I convinced myself that someone was in that hospital. And then when I didn't find anybody, I was like, wait a minute. I need to go home and think about this. So, live and learn.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. So, okay. So you guys do the tours. Do you mainly give the tours or do you have a staff that runs your tours?
We do not have a staff. We're hoping at some point we can get to the place where we can hire staff because we would love that. I would love to be able to employ people and do that. But as of right now, we're not financially able to do that.
Right on.
We do have some awesome volunteers that help us when they can, but they have other jobs and families and stuff. So primarily it is me and Charlie.
Right on.
So more than likely, if you come to the hospital, you're going to get one of us. But we do have awesome volunteers that help us out throughout the year when they can. So we're very grateful for them. We have about 3 that we can count on if we have to be out of town or if somebody's coming in. Sometimes we have field trips. We have school kids that come in. And if there's more than 25 of them, then we have to call in backup because, that's a lot of kids. And they are great to come in and help us if they can. So.
You hear that, Mason? She needs more volunteers. So if you're listening, give Tonya a call.
So we can always use volunteers.
I would imagine Mason would be a great volunteer tour guide.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We'll sign him up.
I'll tell you what, I'll sign him up. I'm going to send him your way right away.
There you
go. He'll love me for that, I swear. Which reminds me, I'm going to tell you a story about Mason later in Doppelgangers. It's crazy. So I got a little lost in my own little thoughts world here. As you do the tours with the groups, and like I said, if it's primarily you and Charlie doing them, how much activity are you guys getting while the groups are in there? I mean, is it pretty standard when you're going through? You're always going to get something. I mean, I know paranormals doesn't necessarily work that way, but are they getting a lot of activity with large groups going through there, or is it with the smaller groups?
It's kind of, honestly, it's kind of hit and miss. It's not an everyday thing. It's not an every time thing, but more often than not, we do get some things, and we always encourage people when they do our tours to take photos because you never know what you're going to capture. And it seems like at least I'd say 1 out of every 5 tours that we do, at least 2 to 3 people capture something that we can't explain. And some of them have been awesome. We post them on our social media, pictures of nurses that appears to be nurses. Some we can't explain. We had one the other day. He was doing, he had his iPhone, and you know how you can do live pictures with iPhones. we were on the third floor, I think, and we had just got done talking about Dr. Salton because he's one of the co-founders of the hospital, and Dr. Salton's love for animals, because not only did he treat patients at this hospital, but he treated animals there as well. And we had just got done explaining that story and talking about Dr. Salton and stuff, and we went on the third floor, and he was just going around taking pictures, and he had his phone set to live shots. Well, he caught something, and he brought it back to me, and he said, watch this. And it was in the waiting room area that kind of breaks off into a bathroom and like a short little hallway. And it looks like what appeared to be a white cat that just kind of just hid from him. And all he got was like the back end of the cat. But I said, play that again, do that picture again. And he held it down so we could watch it. Regular photo, you can't see it. But when you're just looking at the photo, you can't see it. But when he holds it down to do the live shot and you can watch it, you see that white tail just hightail it in there. And what's funny about that is one of the waitresses that works at our local restaurant here right next down the hill from us, her mom used to be a nurse there. And she told her about the story of a white cat. And we had never heard that before. We knew Dr. Salton operated on animals and treated animals at the hospital, but we had never heard the story of the white cat. And basically her mom worked there, and she was on the floor that primarily it was terminally ill patients that was getting ready to pass away. And there was a time where a lot of the patients started talking to her about seeing a white cat that would visit their room and lay at the foot of their bed. And she said, I didn't think about it the first time I heard it. I thought it was just, they were getting ready to pass. They were seeing things. She said, but then it started getting, 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 stories of the same, and they would describe the same cat. And they all said the cat was white and very fluffy and very friendly. And right before they would pass, that cat would come and lay on their bed. And she said it really started to haunt her because, after you hear that story 5, 6, 7, 8 times, you start looking for a white cat. And that's what she was. And that picture that guy caught on a tour, it was a white cat. So it really, really fascinated us. And that he was the only one so far that I know of has been able to capture that. But if he had not had his photos set to live photos, he probably wouldn't have caught it. So it was really cool.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
A white cat.
Yes.
Oh, J-Dub and animals. She'd be thrilled to see a white cat.
Well, listen, Dr. Salton brought them all. Horses, cows, chickens, pigs, cats, dogs, they were all treated there.
My kind of man.
Yes. He was well loved. Everybody loved Dr. Salton. He was just one of those people. And he was originally from New York. And he moved to the area, worked at another local hospital. And Dr. Conley brought him down here and said, hey, we need to build a bigger and better hospital, and I need help. And he ended up falling in love with the area. And the Salton family ended up buying Dr. Conley's shares and owning that hospital for a long period of time. His son went on to be a doctor there. His grandson went on to be a doctor, but not there. And the Salton family, he fell in love with the area, stayed here. He's actually buried in one of our local cemeteries here. So people loved him. He was very well liked. He was very prestigious in the medical field. But he also loved animals, and he treated them just as much as he did humans. He loved them too. So everybody said he was just a kind-hearted guy, well-loved.
Nice. That's really good. That's really cool. It's amazing sometimes you do that. You come to a community, and then you just find the love for that community in the hospital and the surrounding area, and then you just basically bury roots and call it good. Mm-hmm. I mean, you got to love that for sure.
And that's basically what he did. He was originally from New York, and I think he and Conley went to med school together, but then he got a job at Coal Miners Hospital in, I think, McDowell County, West Virginia. And Dr. Conley actually came to Williamson. And there was a little, the first Williamson Memorial was just a 3-story wooden structure in downtown Williamson, but it caught fire and burnt to the ground. And Dr. Conley is kind of the superhero of that story. But it burned to the ground, and then Dr. Conley called him up and said, hey, we're going to build this huge hospital up on the hill. Would you want to come and be a part of it and help me get this going? And he said, well, let me come down and visit, take a look at it. And he wasn't here just a short time and fell in love with it and went on to pretty much reside here for the rest of his life.
Nice. You guys got any questions?
Did you know that the place was haunted before you had it?
We had always heard, what do you call them? Like, I don't know, not really rumors, but there, all of us that grew up around here, the buildings always look spooky, always. So there were always stories that surrounded it, but you never knew as a kid if they were made up, if they were true. A lot of people that were patients there said that there was paranormal stuff going on, even when it was an active hospital. So yes, I think it was just one of those, I think so. It always heard stories about it, but just never knew if it was really true or not. I think so. I think just by looking at it, you can tell. Yeah, there's something all right in that building. But, people, I love the stories that people that were either former patients there or former employees, because they've seen things firsthand and are able to pass those stories down and tell, people what they experienced while they were there. And it makes sense because, again, hospitals are those special kind of places where, people's lives start there and people's lives end there. So 96 years, I'm sure it saw a lot of, and there's weird stories too. A lot of weird things happen in a hospital. So, it's a special place. I love her. I refer to her as her. I don't know if it's because I have that connection. I was born there, but then I also lost two of my grandparents at the hospital as well. They actually passed away before I was born. One passed away in the basement. One passed away on the first floor. So a special connection for me. So I have a little bit of attachment to it. Some people think I'm crazy, but when you're there, you can kind of, I don't know, you can kind of feel it.
Well, just looking at you, when you said, she looks haunted, I wanted to take another look at this picture that you guys got. collegehillhospital.com. And as soon as you go to the homepage, you've got this great aerial picture of the property. And what an amazing view you guys got out there. I mean, just the landscape in general is just absolutely gorgeous. And of course, with the hospital setting up there on top, just looks amazing. So yeah, I could see why you'd fall in love with that place. Yeah, for sure.
The building changed looks over a course of time. The original color of the building, it was actually it looked like the nurses' college. It was a cream color building. And then throughout, the hospital stopped being a hospital in 1988 when they built the newer one. And then they transformed that one into a clinic. So it took more of a clinical type shape. And then they, for whatever reason, painted it that bluish gray color.
Right.
Which is fine with me because it makes it look spooky, but I'm not. But maybe for more calming, I don't know. But it changed looks over the time. But one of the other reasons I was so drawn to it is because it does set on top of that hill overlooking the city. It's almost like it's protector. If you're driving in to Williamson, whether you're coming in on the Kentucky side because we border Kentucky, or if you're driving up on the West Virginia side, you can see that hospital from the 4-lane. It's one of the most, I think, visible buildings in the whole city. So Charlie jokes with me all the time. He thinks we need to put a bat signal up there. So, when we need help or whatever, we just throw the bat signal up because it's so far up there. But it's really cool. But I love the way that it sits and kind of overlooks the city.
Yeah, it's amazing, with all the hills and the trees and then, the city being below it. It just looks amazing.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that's a drone shot that they took of this one. Amazing.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Oh, so we got the building. We got the tours going on. What's the future looking like? What do you guys got planned?
Well, we always want to keep it, maintain the building as much as possible. It's not a huge building, but it's not small either. It's 5 stories, and it's a lot to maintain. The 96-year-old original elevator to the hospital, we still have it working. So to be able to maintain that is a huge task because it's very expensive because it is old and we have to have it certified every year. So, goal number 1 is just to maintain and keep it going. Our next goal, and probably the step of this, is to try to put a roof on that nurses' college. that building is just as special as the hospital. It came shortly after the hospital and was one of the first teaching nurses colleges in the state of West Virginia. So it was kind of state of the art back in its day. So in the early 30s, they tried to encourage young women at the time to become nurses. And there were young women that came from all over to go to that college. And not only would they live there, but they trained there, they stayed there, they studied there, they ate there. And I don't know if you can tell by the pictures or not, but it's a 7-story building. It's not just 2 floors like what a lot of people see from the main road. It's about 7 stories.
Wow.
So I would love to be able to put a roof on that and to keep it from getting any more damage, because we've had paranormal activity in that building as well. Paranormal sightings. Many people have talked about the nurse that walks back and forth on the first floor. So I don't want to lose that building because it's so special. But it's an old building. Unfortunately, it was neglected over the years. And as you can see by the drone shot, and that footage is about 4 years old. So you can imagine how much more it's deteriorated since then. But our goal right now, we're trying to raise enough money to put a roof on it.
Right on.
Now,
So, we want to prevent it for any further damage to it.
I don't know if can you guys try to get grants to help pay for that? Or I don't know how that works with.
We have a GoFundMe campaign going on, and then we have a donate button on our website. We have applied for some grants, but a lot of people, if you're not a nonprofit, they kind of don't want to look at you, if that makes any sense. We've had a lot of people ask why we are not going through the Historical Society and stuff like that. And we very much appreciate the Historical Society, but we kind of want to put our own spin on things. And I would love to be able, because it is such a big building, I would love to be able to turn it into maybe like a bed and breakfast or a mini hotel. That way, when teams come, they can investigate there and stay there as well.
Mm-hmm.
But we'd also like to add a bar and restaurant at the bottom of it. And, I don't think the Historical Society would they might frown on that because, they have their policies and guidelines too, and they would probably want you to restore it to the way that it was. And I just don't know if I could, I don't know if there would be much use to do that other than to do tours through there as a nurses college. But, I don't know any other avenue that we can do. We're trying. But if you know of any grants or anything, throw them our way. We'll be more than happy to try to apply for them.
My mom's really good at that, so maybe I'll say something to her.
Yeah, look it up. I would really appreciate it. We have applied for some, but again, because we're not a nonprofit, I think, we kind of get turned away.
Yeah, because my cousin, excuse me, my cousin bought an old bar in a town around here, and my mom helped her get a bunch of grants where she got a new roof, she got new windows, she got the whole front of the building redone. And yeah, so I'll talk
if
to
I
her.
can just get a roof, I'd be a happy camper. I can work on the other stuff, but yeah, please send her our way. We'd appreciate any help we can get.
Yeah, I'll ask her.
So you got the donation button on the website. What is the GoFundMe web address? Where can they go find that at?
I haven't looked at it in a while. I want to say it's the Williamson Nursing School or Old Hospital Nursing School, something like that. It deals with the nursing school. I know those words are in there, but
Right on.
I can text you the link, or I just don't remember the exact name of it.
Yeah, please do. And we'll put it on our website, and that way our listeners can go there and see the link to that. And hopefully, maybe.
Hey, Project Fear people, get on there and donate.
We reached out to them, and they did, I think during one of their, I want to say Facebook Lives or Instagram Lives, they did mention it, did a shout out to it. But, they got so much going on, it was hard for them, So they did mention it. So we appreciate
that's good.
and appreciate you guys wanting to put it on there, because, we would love to preserve it. It just, as you can imagine, it's going to cost a lot of money. It's a big building, and where it's deteriorated. Luckily, the engineers said the building itself is still in good shape. So structurally, she's fine. It's just the roof is half gone.
Right.
So I've got to put that roof on to be able to, prevent further damage inside.
Absolutely. And you're dealing with what looks like a flat roof, which makes it even tougher for drainage and everything else. So as we found out from some of the buildings around here that we've had involvement with, that those flat roofs are always kind of a little tricky. But
and it's on a hillside, and it's, the building is just so old. It's going to be a challenge, but I'm sure I can find a contractor somewhere, but they're not going to talk to me until we get the money. So they might come and give me an estimate, but that's about as far as we can get.
Yeah, definitely send me that link and I'll put it on our website.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
I'm looking over at the girls here to see if they had any questions for you. Like I say, we're kind of going off the fly here, doing our thing.
So other than the or the cat, what other experiences have you had in the building?
Me personally, or just what people have told me?
Any of them.
Me personally, shadow figures, they're always one of the ones that catch you off guard. Doors are shutting, in our face. Had one in the basement, x-ray room. There's no reason that door should shut. Been in that building so many times, and every time that door's always been open. It was one of the doors to our x-ray rooms. It's a heavy leaded door because it's a, x-ray, and it's on carpet, and it has a door stop. So there's no reason why that door should shut, but it did 3 times. So me and Charlie, I'm glad Charlie was there because it was last October, and we were going down. We always do, some things for Halloween, some fun things to try to raise money and stuff too. And we were down there, I think it was like midnight or a little after, and we were just making sure things were turned off and nobody was hiding and camping out. And we both turned around to look at that door, and it was wide open, and it just slowly just starts shutting. I mean, just really slow. And at first we thought it was one of our volunteers just messing around with us. So Charlie took his flashlight and kind of shined it behind the door. There was nobody there. So he opened it, and we thought, well, maybe it was a draft or something. We were trying to find some reason for it. And he pushed it back on the doorstop, and he took a step back to where I was, and it started slowly shutting again. So we figured, this is my theory as to what happened. We used that room as part of our Halloween thing that year event, and we had a dead body in that room, and she's very realistic dead body. A lot of people thought she was an actress. It was that real. So we just left her down there on a gurney the whole time, and I really think that they were in there, and because she was in there, I think they were working on her, and they didn't want us, what do they tell you when you go into a room with radiation? You can't be in here, so you got to leave. And I think they were in their way just being kind enough to tell us you need to step out. So when he opened it for the 3rd time and it shut again, I was like, don't do it. Don't open it again. Leave it shut. And when we come back the next day, let's see how it is. So we left it shut. We didn't touch it. We go around, finish our rounds, and we lock up. We come back the next afternoon. That door is wide open. Wide open. And we were just like, because again, you would have to know the door. Anybody that's investigated the hospital, they know there's no reason for that to shut, because it's you literally would have to be behind it and force it to shut. So someone caused that to shut. So that was a little creepy. That was, but we didn't freak out though. I'm proud of myself. I didn't run from that one, but things like that, lights coming on and off where there's no power to the building. And like I said, mostly shadow figure voices, things like that for me. When I'm in there, I don't get anything. I don't know if negative is the right word, but evil or demonic or scary. It's more, I feel like they want to communicate, but it's just more warm, if that's what, if that makes sense. Like they're just wanting to talk to you. I think they're happy that someone's there. What I have noticed in the 4 years that we've been open is that this hospital loves children. And when children are in there for whatever reason, whether it's a tour or I do a child's activity or whatever, the next paranormal team that comes in, the activity is a lot different than when children are not in there, if that makes any sense. So, it fascinates me that the hospital responds to certain people different ways. So now there are some teams that go in there and the hospital's not too friendly to them. So I don't know if it's their approach or just the way they investigate, or if the hospital, or they found a patient that wasn't a happy camper during, while they were there. But it's got its own little feel. And to me, each floor represents a totally different feeling. Like for me, the fourth floor is totally different than the basement. The basement is one floor I don't mess around with. It's very dark, very sad. And I know I had a grandparent that passed away there, so I'm sure that's part of it. But even one of our volunteers, if you watch the show Destination Fear, you probably saw Patty. She was interviewed. She's one of our volunteers, and she was the one that saw the man's face in the wall in the basement. Mm-hmm. And to this day, she still volunteers with us, and she won't go down there by herself. One of us have to be with her.
Yeah, that was my next question is there anywhere you won't go by yourself?
I tend to go. There are times I'm a little leery and I want Charlie to go with me. The basement is probably the worst. It's just it's a feeling that I can't explain. It's a sad, heavy feeling when I go down there. And I don't know if it's because, I know it was originally the emergency room, trauma, amputation room, the morgue. I mean, everything sad that you can think of happened in that basement. It's the biggest floor of the hospital. But then when they turned it into a clinic in the 80s, it became the pediatric floor. So it's still decorated as a pediatric floor. So you have this creepy kid border outlined all the way through there. And I'm sure there were probably a lot of children that passed away there. If you think about it, this hospital, it opened in 1928, but it went through the Great Depression. It went through all those diseases. There were so many, and even my mom told me there were a lot of children that passed away in the hospital. Her family, scarlet fever hit our area really bad, and her family had to be quarantined. Thankfully, nobody died, but her sister got it. And but she said that took a lot of children's lives too. So I don't know, just there are times when I go down there, it feels like it hits me all at once, and I can't stay, if that makes sense. I have to go back up to another floor where I feel a little bit more comfortable. And the first time I really noticed that, I don't know if you guys watch Nick Groff, but he was there. He came on the hospital's birthday, I want to say 2 years ago, and he asked if he could interview me in the basement. And I had been interviewed down there before, so it never, I didn't think it would be an issue. And we got down there and we got to one part of the basement where it kind of like forks, where you can see down the hallway on both ends. And he starts interviewing me, and he starts feeling things like he thinks something's touching his neck. And we had to stop the interview for a second. And then he starts asking me questions. And to this day, honestly, I can't remember exactly what the question was, but I got like hit with this huge wave of sadness, and I start like bawling, just crying, like big crocodile tears, and I can't finish the interview. And I feel really dumb because, I don't want him to think that I can't finish it, or, I was just embarrassed. And I told him, I said, Nick, I've never had that happen before. I've always been able to finish an interview, but probably for a good 5 to 10 minutes, we had to take a break because I couldn't finish it. And it was just this huge, it was almost like somebody died right then and there, and I just couldn't cope with it. It was just a really heavy feeling on my chest, and I couldn't finish the interview. I had to wait a while before we got back to speaking.
It's almost like, because you said it was like a lot of kids died there. It's almost like, sounds like a parent that lost a child took over your emotions. And
probably, and then knowing my grandmother was down there too, probably was, hard. And, it's just a tough feeling. There are times I can't, it's not that I can't go by myself, but I just don't stay long. I don't linger, if that makes sense.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. We talked about that in several things, and we actually talked about it last week with Bobby's sister. We were in New Orleans. We were in one of the cemeteries as the first one we stopped in. And she, as we're just wandering around looking at all the mausoleums and different stuff, she looked at me and she's like, I've never had this, but I was down one of these aisles and she just come completely over with this emotional sadness. She goes, that's it. I don't know where it came from. It just was like, I was just super emotional, going by a couple of those mausoleums. And so, yeah, we totally get it. I mean, yeah, nothing to be embarrassed about there for sure, but just it comes in waves, I guess.
Well, and his episode was very emotional for me because he actually came there to investigate another reason, and he ended up being there for another reason. After we did that interview, I don't think I had been home maybe an hour, 2 at the most, when he called, or Nick's assistant that was with him, because it was only him and one other person. And he said, can you come back up to the hospital? Well, I immediately think something's wrong. I'm like, sure. I said, we can come back up. And he's like, nothing's wrong. I'm okay, but I need to talk to you about something. And I walk in, and he's sitting in the lobby area with his assistant. And he said, have you ever heard your grandmother's voice? And I said, no. I said, she passed away before I was born. And he said, did she pass away in the basement? And I said, yes. And he said, well, I think I came in contact with her. So I sat down, and he let me use his headphones, and he replayed. He did a spirit box session in the basement, and he starts talking, and this female's voice comes through, and he says, can you tell me who you are? And just as plain as day, you hear Sally Webb, and that was my grandma's name.
Wow.
Oh, that's awesome.
I just start crying. So I don't know, maybe it had something to do with her. Maybe she knew we were there and wanted to reach out. Because like I said, she passed away in 1969 and I was born in 1973. So she passed away before I was born, and I never got to meet her. And I was, according to my dad, he's no longer with us, I was the first girl on the side of the family, on his side of the family. So he said that she would have been so excited to see me because she wanted a granddaughter. And, it was a little emotional, but it was tough. It was an emotional investigation.
That gave me goosebumps.
Yeah, that was a tough one for me.
I think the real takeaway is 1973 was the best year ever to be born, period.
It was a good year. It was a good year.
Not whatever year you were born in, decades later.
Only 10 years later.
She's the youngin' of this group right now.
Oh, hey, the 80s are awesome too. I love the 80s.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, the 80s were wonderful. I remember them vivid, not very much at all. So we got the plan for the future, the roof, doing some remodels. Like I said, send us the link so we can put that on our website so that we can promote it, week in and week out as we do our pods, because we want to see this succeed as much as you do. We're trying to figure out how to do a Mothman festival and come up and visit you.
Absolutely.
All in kind of like a long weekend is what we're working towards. So I know that this year is kind of out for us. So we want to make sure that we have the donations up there, the links are up there, so that next year when all this comes around, we can make this happen as the United States Paranormal come out and take a visit.
Sure.
So
Mothman, the Point Pleasant is only about 3 hours from us. It's not that far at all.
Yes, we were looking when I originally talked to you. It was like, well, how do we swing this if we could make Mothman and do that? Because what is that about? Is it about 10 hours for us? I think, give or take. I forget exactly how far away it is, but it's not like terrible. It's just like another trip to Kansas City. You know what I'm saying?
Well, West Virginia is really blessed with a lot of paranormal places. So, Trans-Allegheny is just about 3 hours from us. And then you have Mothman, and then Lake Shawnee, Sweet Springs, Moundsville Penitentiary is awesome. You really could just take a whole weekend and, there's a lot of places in West Virginia that you could go and really hit it. It's really a unique state, I think, in that aspect.
Lots of great stories that come out of West Virginia, that's for sure. So, you guys have anything else you'd like to talk to Tonya about?
Tonya, do you have anything else that you want to talk about?
No, just I hope you guys can come and see us one day. We would love to have you, and I appreciate you guys allowing us the opportunity to talk about the hospital. It's a pretty special place for me, but we like for everybody to kind of form their own opinion. So, we welcome everybody. We do investigations all year long. So if you can weather the cold or the hot, we're open. The only time that we shut down sometimes is October, just because it's Halloween and we try to do some events for the community. But other than that, we do them all year long. So they can book. All you have to do is call or text or message us through social media. And we do the bookings ourselves. So, we welcome everybody. We love having everybody. And we appreciate you guys, because if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be able to reach as many people as we do. So we appreciate the time, and we think it means more coming from you guys than it does from us, because, when you're the owner, they're like, they're just going to say anything because they're the owners. But when you guys help and our teams, our paranormal teams, it becomes, it's almost like a family. And we've had some that's been back there 3 and 4 times that we really, really enjoy having. So, we just want everybody to feel welcome and want to come back, and hopefully help us get the nurses college under the way.
Absolutely. All right, guys, that is collegehillhospital.com. And the Facebook page is, let me take a peek here. I guess just look up the old hospital on College Hill, Williamson, West Virginia.
I just followed it.
Thank you.
Tonya, thank you so much for your time.
Thank
you for being patient while we got through a bunch of the stuff we had going on. I know that you and me have been in contact, about a month and a half ago.
I believe so.
Thank you for being patient and allowing us to kind of filter through what we got so we could get to this day. So I appreciate you so much. And Mason wasn't wrong. You are an absolute joy and delight. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys. And thank you again for having me.
And once again, I got to go back. I don't want to mess it up. That's my problem. It's
we know how you are.
collegehillhospital.com. Guys, go check it out. All right. We're going to get out of here. Tonya, thank you. And we hope to see and speak with you again. So
yes.
you and me, you and me keep in contact, and I will get a hold of you, and we'll see if we can work something out.
Sounds good.
All right, guys, keep it spooky, and I'll see you on the other side.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the United States of Paranormal podcast. Check us out at theunitedstatesofparanormal.com, where you can find our Spotlight of the Month, Fan of the Month, and all of our amazing merchandise. Or you can find us on social media at Facebook at the United States of Paranormal, Instagram at the United States of Paranormal, and YouTube at the United States of Paranormal 1795. And don't forget, we are now on Patreon. Just go to patreon.com/2sop.
Please check out the other podcasts in the Golden Mojo Entertainment Network of podcasts. The Call Guys, Golden Image Podcast, Indiana Chiefs Fans, Golden 80s, The Gridiron Kings, Murd Nerds, and A Quart of Books and Booze, all of which can be found at goldenmojoent.com or wherever you stream your favorite podcasts.
And if you have a location or a story that you would like for us to check into, please email us at theunitedstatesofparanormal@gmail.com. Please like, rate, and subscribe wherever you listen. Thank you for all of your support. Bye.